See, Barry, we're sports guys, and we're sports. I mean, we eat and breathe and eat sports, but we need some political insight as well. That's where we bring in Ann Coulter, political analyst and best-selling author, to come in to educate us here. And she's going to do that today. Ann, always good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm upset at how political sports are becoming, for one thing.
Yeah, we want to talk with you about that. You know, the president was in our state on Friday. He had some comments about the NFL, using some choice language. It went over okay here in this state. I don't know how it went nationally, but your thoughts about the president talking about what's going on in the NFL?
Well, he's not distracting us from building the wall. This is fun. He seems to be the only politician who has any sense of what Americans are like, and not liking this kind of crap with the kneeling for the anthem. One thing great to come out of it, John, is that if you've been watching any TV coverage, it's just pretty much openly acknowledged now that Alabama is the most patriotic Republican state. I mean, everybody says when they're talking about the bad Luther Strange and good Roy Moore race, that, well, if Roy Moore wins, he will become the senator.
Mm-hmm.
It's Alabama.
Yes.
As for, just to go back to Kaepernick for a second, and I'm sure your listeners all know this, but a lot of people don't. You know, he was raised by a white family. He's adopted because he's only half black. His black father apparently left his mother, so his mother gave him up for adoption. She came running back when he was recruited. When he turned out to be a big football star, the bio mom suddenly remembered her dear lost adopted child. Most of these football players, I would guess, you would know better than I do, that most of them don't pay attention to politics, don't care about politics, and are probably pretty hard-headed because they have to be hard-headed in order to be successful athletes and just think, no, wait, why are we paying people if they're not working? So I think now it's just caught on like a fever, but Kaepernick was doing it because who was he was dating like some girl who works for MTV, of course, an immigrant, and she's the one who pushed him into all of this. So the whole thing has just snowballed into a gigantic middle finger to the American people, and I do love when Trump does stuff like this. I really do love it. His attacks on political correctness are fantastic. I just think he's getting on my nerves for not building that wall yet.
Do you think that his comments, his tweets sort of jump-started that movement? It seems as though it's gotten so much more attention since his weigh-in on it. It seems that some people are taking advantage of it, and it's actually helping to gain notoriety for the movement itself.
Maybe among sport fans. Everybody knew about Kaepernick, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people were I don't know. And I guess ESPN ratings have been down. Mm-hmm. It's the old rule from John O'Sullivan that any organization that is not expressly founded as a right-wing organization will eventually become a left-wing organization. And it just seems like the NFL, or certainly ESPN, has been kind of drifting that way. So, you know, I'm glad Trump went after them. And everyone I know prefers. I'm a girl. I don't watch that much football. Everyone that I know who does watch football, i.e., all males, prefer college football anyway.
Well, we certainly do in this part. As you can imagine, Ann, when the national anthem's played in an Alabama game, an Auburn game, Troy, wherever it might be, these fans are standing in mass with their hand over their heart singing the national anthem. And it is tough for people in this part of the country to see people kneeling, not standing. It's just how we were raised, and it's just a part of our culture. Yes, we do have the freedom to do that. But it certainly has, as you can imagine, sparked a lot of emotion, particularly with our military personnel. And here in Alabama, there's a very large military contingent, Maxwell Air Force Base here in Montgomery, the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, and military bases all across the state. So this has been a very hot topic, a hot-button topic here in our state.
Well, you're getting fantastic press in the rest of the country as the most patriotic and Republican in the state. This whole incident also reminds me of something I'm not being at all sarcastic. I really do feel sorry for black people and that is for these political movements like this. A white person can come down on any side. I mean, I might be annoyed at a white person who kneels during the national anthem. But when it's some big political thing like this, if you're a black person, it's like you're a traitor to your race if you don't get down on your knee. That's what's really causing, I think, a lot of this snowballing. And, who wants to have a fight? I mean, this is why I always say black conservatives are not only better than black liberals, they're better than white conservatives if they've gone through all that crap to be a conservative.
This election today in the state of Alabama, so of course it captures our attention. Can you put it into perspective nationally? Is it a big deal?
It's a huge deal. It's hilarious, frankly, that this primary, how often does one of your primaries become a huge national deal? This is the Trump election versus the Washington swamp. And as I think I said last time, I was pushing Mo Brooks because immigration is the issue that decides every other issue, and I'd rather keep Alabama and not have you go the way of California. But Roy Moore, I wrote the Conservative of the Year for him for Human Events some years back. What's so great about him is, he's not backing down to what the New York Times says. He's not worried about whether Rachel Maddow and the MSNBC likes him. And of course he's good on immigration, he's good on guns, he's good on everything else. Luther Strange is his opponent, is the Mitch McConnell, Washington, D.C., business as usual candidate. One of the things I'm most testy with the Emperor God Trump about is that he gets to Washington after running this campaign against the Republican Party, which has been doing nothing for us in Washington, and then he turns over his administration to the swamp, to all the people. Wait a second, Mr. Trump, this is why we voted for you. And Luther Strange is the Mitch McConnell candidate, whom I pushed for him when he was in a primary because we need Republican seats. There's no question of losing this seat, and Luther Strange wants to send jobs abroad and import Hondurans and pay off big moneyed interest. He is part of everything we voted against when we voted for Donald Trump.
The Mitch McConnell involvement, we had a caller earlier today when we were promoting your appearance on the program. What is that? Why is Mitch McConnell such a lightning rod in this race?
For one thing, I was a fan of Mitch McConnell's, and when he had a primary race 4 years ago, a lot of the people who are behind Roy Moore now were heavily pushing his primary opponent. Bevin, the guy's name, he's the governor now, and he turns out he's a fantastic guy. And it wasn't that I was against Bevin; it's just that when you have a minority in the Senate, you can't be fiddling around in primaries. But for one thing, we don't have a minority, and this is Alabama, as everybody keeps saying. And Luther Strange isn't really an incumbent. He's not an elected incumbent. He was an appointed incumbent. So you don't have that going for you. In general, I think you need a good reason not to vote against a Republican incumbent because we don't want to waste our time and money when we need to be flipping seats from Republican to Democrat. But Mitch McConnell he's okay. I think Paul Ryan is a lot worse. He is the stand-in for the Republican Party that we've been voting for year after year after year, and they promise that they're going to get control of the border, and they're going to bring the economy back, and that they're going to stop dumping the third world on our country, and they're going to stop sending Americans to fight in wars that we don't even know what the purpose of it is, building walls in other countries and not in our country. And then they get elected and they turn to the Chamber of Commerce and say, what do you need? And why is Congress working on a tax cut now? Again, what happened to the wall?
Yeah. What about health care? How's that going to play out?
Yeah, they had 7 years, and I personally don't think it's that hard to come up with the repeal and replace. I don't think you actually, at the risk of turning all of Alabama against me, I don't think you need to overturn Obamacare. All Congress needs to do, as I've been screaming from the rooftops, is pass a one-sentence bill saying there shall be a nationwide free market in health insurance. And then you have the magic of the free market, the same way we don't have Congress telling hotels what they need to provide in a hotel room and what the fees have to be. No, there's competition. There's competition, and you can buy the health care you want, and it'll be at good prices. And, of course, you'll still have fraud laws and contract laws. But I don't want insurance that carry where I have to pay for Chelsea Manning to have a transgender operation. I am pretty sure I am never going to need drug rehab counseling. I'm never going to need marriage counseling. There are a lot of things I can cross off the list there that I am forced to buy insurance for right now. I want to buy insurance that covers me if I get the things that everyone is worried about: heart attacks, cancer, long-term debilitating diseases that medicine can do something for. But Obamacare and federal law generally, and lots of state laws, require every insurance plan to cover psychological counseling. Don't need it, really don't want to be paying for that. And if you had a free market, the same way we buy a multitude of products on Amazon, we'd be able to buy the insurance we want. And then Obamacare would slowly fade away as the free market takes over. Obamacare would still be around for people who have really expensive medical conditions, but then there's nobody to protest on one hand, and on the other hand, it actually ends up killing Obamacare.
Today is a big day. There's an election here in the state, and more importantly, I guess the most important advice we can give everybody is go out and vote.
But don't vote if you're voting for Luther Strange. Stay home, put your feet back, have a beer.
I had a feeling that was coming. Oh, hey, Ann, we never have enough time. It's always a lot of fun. We certainly enjoy getting your insight on so many different issues. And this time we got to mix in a little sports, which was kind of nice. And even though it was the
political aspect of sports.
Yes, the political aspect of sports, but still, yet again, still a lot of fun and always informative, and we always look forward to it.